Andrew Giuliani. My man, Andrew, of course, very proud of his father, Rudy, America's mayor. Rudy, as you heard John Catsimatidis say, was on with John yesterday on the Cats Roundtable. Not Rudy, Andrew, excuse me. But Andrew back here on Sid and Friends in the morning. Andrew, difficult couple of days. Thank you for stopping by, my man. How are you?
I appreciate it, Sid. Yeah, it's been certainly an emotional last couple of days. Thank God my father is out walking. He's doing physical therapy. He's out of the hospital. 81 years old. Anything like that, anytime anything like that happens, but when you hear of, fractured vertebrae, it's somebody in their 80s, your question is that person ever going to sit up again and walk again? So to hear that within a couple of days, my dad's up walking, mobile, I've spoken to him probably about a dozen times over the last 2 days, just trying to get a gauge of where he is mentally. And he's just like, he's tackling this challenge as he tackles every single challenge. And he's got a couple of events here on Thursday and Friday in New York. And he wants to be here and he wants to be up and mobile. So,
Wow.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that he'll be able to mend very, very quickly, as you can imagine, Sid.
And Andrew, not just this Thursday and Friday, but next Thursday, we're 9 days away from 24 years since 9/11. And, listen, I love President Trump, and he's going to be here, and that's great. He actually called into Channel 11 that day, and I play it every year. He was terrific, President Trump. But the most important person in this country on that day is your father. And we need him to be here and be present. So the fact that he's up and around and walking around says to me that in 9 days on that sacred day, we could expect to see and hear from Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, that's always a day he feels like he needs to be in New York City with his brothers, and you can imagine why it's tough to believe for 24 years now. It still feels like yesterday. But yeah, that's certainly something that he. You can't say looks forward to every year, but, finds, I think, solace in the fact that he's here, honoring the lives of those, great New Yorkers that sacrifice so much. And I know he wants to be down here. I know he wants to be out here standing with them for hours as he does every single September 11th. I'm hopeful to be able to do it again. Speaking to him, I haven't spoken to him this morning yet, but last night before he fell asleep, he sounded great. Mentally, he explained everything that happened in that car crash. Explained that he was helping somebody, which is
his phone
with him.
Good. Say it again. No, I know that there was somebody on the side of the road, maybe even a victim of domestic violence, and your dad was trying to help that person out.
That help.
He's in a tough spot. Wherever Andrew is, I know he's got a 9:10 deadline. He's doing great for a couple of minutes there, so want to pick him back up and see if the phone is any better because I do want to talk to him. He's the highlight today. Is he going to call back? You know exactly where. I know he has a 9:10 hard out, right? So let's see if he sounds better here. Let me just go to him. So Andrew left us by saying that his father had pulled over to the side of the road to check up on somebody who I think was out there because of a domestic violence incident, and he wasn't driving. Is all that correct, Andrew?
That is all correct. I'm calling from Homeland Security. You think the service would be better over here, but I guess they don't want talking. I guess they don't want us talking over here outside of our skiffs. But yeah, that's exactly right, Sid. And he was driving in New Hampshire. He saw a lady actually flag him down. And they pulled over, and he called the cops immediately. Cops come about 15 minutes later. It turns out the guy actually was the victim of the domestic violence incident. She had a weapon. She gets arrested. The cops see Rudy Giuliani. They're all excited. They take pictures with him. And as my father is getting back on the highway, he has to go make a U-turn, takes a normal U-turn just like anybody would to get on the highway there, gets off, gets back on going southbound. And I don't know if the person who rammed into him was rubbernecking or whatever happened, but rammed him at about 75 miles an hour from behind. And it was a good lesson. He said, look, the seatbelt is probably what fractured my vertebrae because it snapped back so quickly, but it saved his life because if not, he would have been ejected through the windshield and we'd be having a very different conversation today.
So he was driving, your dad?
No, he was in the passenger seat.
Okay.
He was in the passenger
Who was
seat.
driving?
Yes.
Asian Teddy?
Ted was driving. So, yeah, exactly. So, Ted's good too, thankfully. The car's not doing so well, but that's okay. We can always get a new car.
Right, but Teddy's okay?
Teddy's doing fine. I think I spoke to him the day after as well. The thing that was so fascinating from my perspective is I'm actually at Bedminster on Saturday night, and I get a text on my phone at 9:45 at night, and it's from my father's phone number. And it says, in all caps, crash detected. This person has you listed as an emergency contact.
Oh, my God.
And it actually shows the location where my father's crash happened. So I get nothing. I call Ted. I'm trying to call anybody who, might be around him. Nobody's picking up. Call again. I'm calling, every couple of minutes to try to figure out what's going on. And I see this location is now moving. And then I see it in the hospital. This is now probably 10:45, 11 o'clock on Saturday. I see it's in New Hampshire, but I can't get a hold of anybody. So probably about 90 minutes until I was actually able to get a hold of my father to make sure everything was okay. But you just see crash detected, going to the hospital there, and kind of no clue what was going on. And Sid, it's interesting you mentioned September 11th, but it was a similar feeling that I had about him the other night that I did on September 11th, because I knew that he was in the buildings at one point, or around the buildings there, but you just couldn't get in touch with him. You didn't know exactly where he was and if he was safe. Obviously, this was a little different because you had the crash detected, but it brought back similar eerie feelings.
Oh, I'm sure. This is Andrew Giuliani. What a great kid, and of course his father Rudy. How sweet was it to see President Trump now is going to award your father with the Medal of Freedom. It is the highest civilian honor there is. I said this morning, you know how much I love Trump. I love him. I said, my only question to President Trump is, what took you so long? But on a serious note, how sweet is that?
It was fantastic. I spent the day yesterday with President Trump, and toward the end of the day, he looked at me kind of out of nowhere and said, I want to award your father the Medal of Freedom. He's been through so much. The greatest, as he said in his truth, the greatest mayor in the history of New York City. He was right about everything, went through everything that President Trump said in the Oval Office 10 days ago about my father. And it was, it's been such an emotional last, more than even 48 hours, Sid. It's been an emotional last 5 years when you think about all the ups and downs, and to see the president honor him this way, I think it's real vindication. But more than anything, as a son, I'm just so proud of him. We talk so much in life about perseverance. We talk about getting through tough times. We talk about pushing through. And I just saw how many people tried to break my father over the last 5 years, how many people on the left tried to destroy him in every single possible way, because he was a representative of Trump. He was a representative of somebody who would not say die on issues that were so important to the future of our country, to this Constitution and our electoral system. And to see him being honored this way, I'm so proud.
And even this weekend, I mean, I know we've seen so much of it that I would hope at least at some point you just kind of brush it off, because like you said, it's been years and years of lawsuits and MSNBC killing your father. But, for every Sid Rosenberg and President Trump out there that were deathly concerned, seriously concerned about your father, the only bad thing about the accident was he didn't die. I mean, I saw tons of stuff like that. I mean, Andrew, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I even tune that stuff out now because I've seen so much of it. But yeah, look, you're gonna have these critics, and I remember when I got COVID, there was I think the same day it was announced that Don Jr. got COVID, and one of my college buddies who always messes around and finds this stuff and sends it over to me said that somebody had sent out something that today I found out that Andrew Giuliani and Don Jr. got COVID. My condolences go out to COVID. It's kind of funny, actually.
It is kind of
funny in a crazy way. But you just realize, and I go back to the old Teddy Roosevelt speech from 1910 You have cold, timid souls that know neither the glories of victory or the agony of defeat. And I feel like you just have too many people that sadly, I guess I guess in some way they find solace in other people's misery.
They do.
But the great thing is here, and I think we're starting to see this over the last 6, 7, 8 months. I think there are more and more Americans that are sick and tired of this victim culture that want America to truly be great again, and we're seeing it right here from D.C. And we're going to keep on pressing forward.
Just had John Catsimatidis on, Andrew, right before you, and he intimated there may be a return for Rudy Giuliani to WABC. Would you like to see that?
Oh man, that would be. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. I've always, loved my time at WABC. So many great relationships. Sid, you and I, we talk all the time. We now serve on the U.S. Holocaust Council together. How amazing is this when you think about that? Yeah. So it's nice that you guys welcome a Gentile in the fray like myself. I appreciate that.
By the way, I would take you as a Gentile over the Jew Bernie Sanders in that group any day of the week.
Yeah. That's a low bar, Sid. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I appreciate that.
All right, final 30 seconds. You'd like to see him back here?
Absolutely. Look, so many great relationships there. It'd be wonderful to see.
Final 30 seconds before I let you go. FIFA's coming, right? We just had a major event in New Jersey. It was not the big one, but the big one is coming. President Trump has put you in charge. This is a massive operation. This is a huge, huge honor that he put you in charge. How busy are you now, months in advance, with this upcoming worldwide soccer tournament?
It's been nonstop. I've been to every single one of the cities that are hosting these games. We're looking at their security footprints. It's not just for the stadiums. You think about the fan festivals when there are all-star games that come into New York. A lot of times it's at the Javits Center. This will be at the Liberty State Park in New Jersey. You'll see stuff at the Tennis Center in Queens where they're having the U.S. Open now. You'll see stuff at Times Square. The best way to actually think about this, especially with UN week coming up, the World Cup final in New York and New Jersey will be like having a Super Bowl in the Meadowlands while you have the ball drop going on in Times Square, while you have the UN going on in the rest of New York. It will be beyond crazy. You don't want to drive around in New York. Joe Nolan will be extremely busy on that day when that's going on. And guess what? That's just one of 104 games. So for 40 days next year, with this World Cup, you're just going to see an incredible celebration. And as I told the president, as I was interviewing for this job, it is a great opportunity over our 250th birthday to show off the greatness of the United States of America and the hope and promise of the next 250 years of the United States.
Boy, did he pick the right guy for the job. But you know how much I love your father. He loves me, too. And you know how much I love you.
They were going to pick Andrew Cuomo, but he used his hands too much and he got a red card. So that was the problem. So that's why they settled on me.
Well, was it the name of your podcast for a while? Not that, Andrew?
Yeah, you're right. Good memory there, Sid. That's exactly right.
Hey, I love you guys. Please tell your father I love him. Give him my best. Thank you for doing this today under difficult circumstances. And I'll see you again very, very soon, Andrew Giuliani. Love you, proud of you. Thank you so much.
Of course, Sid. I appreciate all the love, and from all the love I've heard from so many so many friends that are listening, so many listeners, and it means a lot. Those prayers go a long way. So thank you, guys.
Well deserved. There he is, the great son. We love Rudy, but we love Andrew too. Andrew is not just Rudy's son. Andrew is a very, very impressive young man.